Did you guys know that I really like Skylanders Spyro's Adventure? It's in my top 3 favorite games of all time, and I think one of the things that keeps me coming back outside of the simple yet fun gameplay, amazing soundtrack, stellar world building, and if I'm being honest, blatant nostalgia bias, it's the levels. I believe that Spyro's Adventure has the best levels in the series. While nostalgia may be talking here, and I haven't revisited the last 3 games of the series as I'm writing this, I think this game strikes the perfect balance of length and puzzle solving mixed with combat in the entire series. Also, I just wanted another excuse to play this game again. I'm basing this ranking off of a few key factors. The most obvious factor is how fun the level is to play. Is the level fun the first time around? Other factors like music and aesthetic are secondary, and the last thing is replayability. I think the devs knew that you weren't going to be playing these levels more than twice and designed the game around that restriction. But if a level is painful the first time around, then you better believe it's going to be painful the second time around. Alright, that covers all the groundwork that I wanted to lay out, but before this video actually begins, I want to say that while I was editing it, I hit 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. So, I mean, wow. I didn't think I'd get this far. So, thank you for subscribing. I have something planned. Hopefully it comes out within this month, at least. I do have a couple ideas in mind for what I want to do for 5K subscribers, and I do have a new series planned, so be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, if I'm being 100% honest, I like, if not love, all of the levels in this game. But this bottom spot is the one exception, and it was locked in the moment I had the idea for this video. The worst level in the game is Pirate Seas, and it's not even close. Alright, let me list off all the problems with this level. Easily the worst part is the memory game. I get that you gotta spice up the gameplay to make it so that it's not so repetitive, but like, memory? Come on. It's pathetically easy, but the problem is that it's so slow. Because the pirate announcer guy has to say what the card is every time you flip it, it makes the game take like 3 times as long as it should. The first game takes like 15 seconds, and that's if you get everything right first try. Like, bro. You don't have to say, schooner, every single time I flip the schooner card over. I will say one positive about the announcer guy saying the card name out loud is that it makes the games easier, so then they go by quicker. And since you have to do this 7 times, I guess it's not as bad as it could be. But it's still tedious and I don't like it. What makes each of these games even worse is that each of the cutscenes for them are unskippable. I should probably just mention this now since it's going to be a common theme throughout the rest of this video, is that on PlayStation and probably Xbox, cutscenes aren't skippable on the first run through of a new file, but they can be on the second playthrough, while on the Wii version you can just skip no matter what. Unless the devs decide that you just can't. So if I'm talking about an unskippable cutscene, I'm talking specifically about the Wii version. For some reason, Pirate Seas has the most unskippable cutscenes in the game. I think only the first 3 are skippable, and the rest just aren't. And there's so many cutscenes in this level. The combination of how slow the minigame is with the unskippable cutscenes almost makes you miss how short the level is without all this padding. Like, seriously? This level is like one fairly small island with not much to do. The memory game isn't even the only instance of obvious padding. There's a turret section sitting off to the side that you only have to do once. Then there's this boat section, which is super tedious on the Wii, but it's somehow even worse on PlayStation. Moving is super slow and turning around looks super awkward. There's only like 5 actual enemy encounters in this level, and I'd say that only makes up about like 20% of the level. Okay, so I don't like the gameplay. What about the story? It's an adventure pack, which means it has its own isolated story. It's not the worst of the 4, but it's the second worst. It's honestly inoffensive. The worst part is how Jess is just randomly kidnapped, which leads to the boat section, but she seems, you know, kind of thankful at the end.
Oh, I just knew it! You are amazing! Our town is grateful to you, and so am I.
I'm fucking the dog.
All the furry pirates having the stupid pirate accent does not help, especially since the cutscenes are unskippable.
Shiver me timbers, 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 shiver me timbers.
And why is the mayor wearing lipstick? You want to know what else really sucks about this level? You have to pay for it. Since it's an adventure pack, it's basically a DLC level which comes with a character and 2 power-ups, so let's go over that real quick. I'm sort of basing this on when it was available on store shelves. Nowadays, you're only getting this secondhand on like eBay or something. This came out during Wave 1, which is when the game launched. You got the level, Terrafin, Ghost Swords, and Hidden Treasure. Honestly, the best part of the bundle is that hidden treasure is in it. Since the level doesn't give you much outside of being a cool figure, Terrafin isn't great, and is probably worse than the other two options that was available back then. And most power-ups aren't even worth it, since they mostly just do damage, and putting in the effort to put them on the portal, or Alt-Tab if you're on emulator, usually just isn't worth it. But hidden treasure is kind of crazy, because it's basically a mid-game chest available anywhere, including the hub, which you can exploit by talking to an NPC. Unless you're on PlayStation, of course, since for some reason this annoying-ass sound effect plays every couple seconds. And it still keeps making it when it's off the portal. Wow, that's terrible. Ah, jeez, maybe it really isn't worth it. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the music. There's nothing wrong with it in particular, it's nothing special. But the devs clearly disagreed with me, since they use it for Skystones in future games, and it just gives me traumatic flashbacks every time I hear it. Overall, I'd say this level isn't even worth pirating. Oh, you've got to be fucking... Okay, now that we have the absolute worst level out of the way, we can get to the levels that I actually like. Pirate Seas is like an F tier level, but the next few levels are at least C tier. I'd also like to say that the order isn't that set in stone. You could probably convince me that most of the levels can go up or down a few placements. That being said though, good luck convincing me on Mulkin Mine. Are we even playing Skylanders in this level? Feels more like I'm playing Minecraft. Breaking this many cracked rocks is far too tedious for me. The issue is compounded by two other factors, however. First is that if you want to pick up a bomb to break the purple Zo crystal, you have to put the pickaxe away. So if you want to go back to breaking the rocks, you have to find another pick. The other problem is that over half the level is a water elemental zone, but the first half is earth element, which means that breaking the cracked rocks wouldn't actually require you to use the pickaxe, so you kind of get used to not being forced to use it, but then you actually have to use it. Why would they design the level like this? And I know that some of you are going to say, oh, just use an Earth Skylander for the whole level. And this advice isn't horrible on the surface, especially if you're using Prison Break since he breaks the rocks and the purple Zo crystals. However, not only is your damage experience and gold gain nerfed, there's two treasures that require you to cross the water, so that really isn't an option here. This level also has the same problem that Pirate Seas has, that it's basically a really short level made to feel longer by doing tedious busy work that is just not fun. But hey, at least you get a cool sombrero at the end.
Anything can be bought and sold for the right oil.
You guys remember how in the early 2010s there was like a million first-person shooter games that had this dark gray and brown color palette, and how Call of Duty was the leader in this genre? How did it affect this game? Who developed this game again? Let's start with the positives. I like how this level uses water to hide hidden treasures. I like how this level introduces the tech spell punk early. Okay, let's get to the negatives. The first and most noticeable problem is the look of the level. It is super ugly, using mostly grays and browns, and it's very jarring, especially against every other level in this section of the game. Like, most of the stuff we've seen so far is like green and blue, but now we're just getting into this super polluted area, and it's just not great. I wouldn't have a problem with the tone shift if it wasn't so out of place this early on. We go from happy cheery to pollution, back to happy cheery until like falling forest, where the game eventually starts to get a little more dreary and just keeps getting darker until the game is over. Which is great, because it signals that you probably have to hurry up and collect the rest of the elemental sources because Chaos is winning and you really should hurry up. Like, I'm pretty sure you don't even see grass outside of the hub world after chapter 11. Basically, this level's ugly for no reason. I also just really don't like the enemies in this level. The troll tank enemy in particular is really annoying to deal with on PS3. Like, seriously, what is happening here? And the amount of troll grenadiers is also particularly obnoxious, especially since basically all of them are out of reach of you until you get to the final part of the level. Also, speaking of enemies, the enemy goal for this level is surprisingly strict. I genuinely don't know why they expect you to take down multiple waves of troll grenadiers with bombs. Like, who would ever expect to do that? Or why they would even wait to have them spawn in? But honestly, the most unforgiving part of this level is the fire elemental gate. I would be willing to forgive all the other elements of this level if it wasn't for this fire elemental gate. Because if you're playing through the level normally and you just skip the elemental gate, it's not too bad, it's not great, but this fire elemental gate really just ruins it for me. Honestly, some of my problems with this elemental gate is because it's kind of just a skill issue. I always think that there's a hat, a legendary treasure, and a chest in the gate, when there's only a hat and a legendary treasure. I swear this is like a Mandildo effect or something. I don't know, maybe my old age is starting to affect my abilities as an epic Skylanders gamer or something.
It's frickin' freezing in here, Mr. Bigglesworth.
Another level that I have to pay for, This is a pretty easy skip. Alright, seriously, what were they cooking with Empire of Ice? Because it clearly never even made it out of the freezer. Everyone knows that ice physics aren't fun to play with in video games, so why in the world would you make an entire level where half the level's floor is ice? Especially since you have to pay for it. Slam Bam is fine, but you already have Gilgrunt for water Skylanders. Sky Iron Shield is genuinely worthless. As initially, I thought that it negated damage, but when I tested it, I found that it only had damage and has a super short duration. Anvil Rain is similarly useless since it basically does the exact same thing that every Adventure Pack figure does, where it just drops damage randomly on enemies, only at least the Adventure Pack items also have a screen nuke, making them worth using. Looking at the whole package, it just isn't worth buying, especially since the Whirlwind exclusivity ended. Like, why are you not just buying the best Skylander ever, alright? Like, what's wrong with you? You wouldn't do that, would you? Guys, I swear I'm not a furry. But seriously though, what are you doing? Why are you not buying Whirlwind? Like, what do you... Honestly, the most worthwhile thing about this level is that the Santa hat gives plus 20 armor. I've also heard that you can soft lock the last part of the level if you only attack the bottom part of the wall, but I've never experienced this, so I'm not entirely sure if this is true. This information came from my cousin, and you know, everyone's got that cousin that tells tall tales. This is what the cousin looked like, by the way. Also, this wizard is super annoying. I hate this guy. Honestly, this level didn't even stand an Ice Cube's chance in hell. Its entire premise is based around the worst game mechanic of all time. Like, why would they do this?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fox's coverage of an American bombing run on Hiroshima.
Remember what I said about Oil Spill Island, how it's super gray and ugly? Well, at least the tech element has a good excuse. For some reason, chapters 13 and 14 decided that emulating World War I trench warfare was the way to design levels, and honestly, I think they were cooking, at least with Goo Factory, but not so much with Battlefield. Pushing the Mega Bombs is super tedious, at least if you're trying to get 100%. Only trying to beat the level, it's not so bad, but getting Drollbot's Soul Gem is annoying, and the Undead Elemental Gate is the worst in the game for having to push 2 of these, and maneuvering along this skinny path is super obnoxious. But the worst part about this level is the boss fight. And if I'm being honest, Spyro's Adventure doesn't have the best boss fights in the world, God forgive it. And I think the Troll Tank is the worst out of all of them. It doesn't really do anything offensive, it's just pathetically easy in a sea of already pretty easy bosses. The devs were like, oh, we have Troll Grenadiers on the top of the tank, that makes it difficult, right? No! I'll just move in a circle. Does the tank even shoot? I don't think I've ever even seen it attack. The one positive I'll say about this level is that I really like the music. And so did the devs, because they reused it for every tech elemental gate in the rest of the series. And I also hate to say it, but the music isn't exactly going to make this level any better. Alright, I make it sound like the music is the only good part of this level, alright? I actually do like walking around in these trenches. Maybe it's because my biological clock is ticking and my ancestors are telling me that I need to go to a European country and die in a ditch somewhere. I mean, maybe trench warfare was fun. I mean, if World War I is so good, why isn't there a World War II? No fucking way.
I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. And for some fucking reason, they're speaking Vietnamese.
Treetop Terrace is such a nothing level. Like, it's the most obvious filler level in the game, even though there's like plenty of other filler levels. This is the most obvious one. For some reason, we need to collect these seeds either to find or to locate the Eternal Life Source. The game isn't exactly clear. Also, why can't we just use the Far Viewer? It's a MacGuffin introduced specifically to find Eternal Sources. Like, come on. I do think it's really funny that the Far Viewer just kind of stops being a thing after like chapter 6. So clearly just a MacGuffin to find the Eternal Air Source. I do like the aesthetic and the music of this level, but I think the reason I hold this level in contempt so much is because right after you beat the level, you have to protect these apple bushes from the sheep, and it's the most tedious part of the whole game. I don't want to hear any dissent on this. This is so bad. Why did they do this? Even if you're using a ranged Skylander, this is so annoying. Have you noticed that I haven't really talked about the level at all yet? There's nothing that this level does special, other than making an annoying version of the Drow Witches. They literally brought the Drow back for this level, added 2 variations to previous enemies, also Buck Bumble, and this level still manages to be forgettable. I think the reason for this is that the level does nothing special. It reuses enemies, the puzzles are not special. Like, it's just a race, and Stump Smash can beat it. How embarrassing. The music is fine, but it gets lost in the wave of great songs in this soundtrack. I literally think that this level, if you ask the wider Skylanders community if this level even existed, more than likely, most would say no. Not me though. I'm built different. I know this game better than the back of my hand. Wait, what level were we talking about again?
Dragons have invaded Dave & Buster's.
This level is called Dragon's Peak, despite the fact that it is obviously not, in fact, Peak. What is with these adventure packs and not being good? Whoa! We're in Skylands? Well, you're telling me for the first time now. I had no idea. This level is actually a really cool concept, but none of the ideas were executed properly. Exhibit A is the flying segments with Flavius. The gameplay itself isn't even that terrible, if not just a little basic, but god damn, if Flavius just shut up, it wouldn't be so bad. Also, why is Vathek not a boss fight? Like, I get the whole point is tricking him to step off the throne willingly, but like, why couldn't we beat his ass at least a little bit before Flavius shows up? Like, he's clearly willing to throw down, alright? Like, 3 minutes, alright? 3 minutes of playtime. That's all I require. I do like a lot of the enemies in this level, and I will say some of the puzzle solving elements of this level are pretty fun, but it's just not enough to save it. Also, this adventure pack was a Toys R Us exclusive until Wave 5, so is it really worth it? God no. Sunburn is at least good in this game, but not good enough to be compared to the other Fire Skylanders that were available at this time. And both the magic items aren't good either. Winged Boots is good, but don't really last that long and aren't even needed for the time challenges in this game. And Sparks is just pirate swords, but a little bit better, and all it really did is make people wonder when the next Spyro game was gonna happen. They had to wait until 2018 until the remaster, but hey, better late than never. Once again, we have another level where a single elemental gate ruins the entire level for me. And I'm not talking about the fire gate, since the only difference between the two is that for some reason the PS3 version introduces the Lava King guy like way earlier than the Wii version does. No. I'm talking about the life elemental gate. You know, if I had a nickel for every time a life elemental gate forced me to repeat a level for a treasure in Spyro's Adventure, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it is weird that it happened twice. Or maybe not? I may or may not have glitched the game on my most recent playthrough, because I swear to God, I've gone for the legendary treasure in the hat and not been able to get the chest. Am I smoking crack on this? I've even gotten comments on my what element is used the most in Spyro's Adventure video saying that you can get all the treasure in the life elemental gate on your first try, but I swear to you, I swear that this is the first time I've done it. Like, I'm being so serious right now. I swear I'm not crazy. Like, I'm so serious, I swear. I'm not crazy, I swear! I swear! I do like most of the enemies in this level, though I will say that the troll brains are kind of annoying because they put their shield up after getting hit like once. But that's my only real negative with them. My only other real complaint with this level is that we have to deal with Snuckles' annoying ass. I would complain that you can't navigate the minefield without the map pieces, even if it is a repeat playthrough, but I get why they did this, because if they didn't, this level would only last like a minute, which, now that I'm saying out loud, maybe they should have done that. Plus, it would be super cool to give options to the player. They can either continue on into the level and collect treasure, or speedrun the level by being super careful in the minefield. I guess me expecting multiple options out of the devs means I got trolled.
Are you fucking...
The last official level in the game. Layer of Chaos has a lot of things going for it, but a lot of weird things that wouldn't be positives in basically any other situation. This genuinely might be my most replayed level in the whole game, and that is entirely because it is great for leveling up and upgrading Skylanders. If you play through this level like 3 times, you'll probably have a fully leveled up and upgraded Skylander. Also, for once, I actually think I like the look of this level better on the PS3 version, since the lighting engine actually makes it darker and dingier. I think it really helps out the level's atmosphere. But I don't like where it is. This isn't Chaos's castle. This is like an approach to the main level. You don't even go into the castle itself. It is not a layer of chaos. One of the best things about this level is that it's the hardest in the game, which is good because it's the last one in the game. That mainly comes down to these stupid teeth things. I actually don't mind these things too much. They're kind of tedious, but you can outrun them. What I don't like is specific to the PS3 version, where instead of these alternate paths after reaching the triple lock gate, there's these floating islands that take like 10 years to reach their destination, and you have to do it 4 times. I think the devs intended for you to keep moving to avoid the teeth, but there's like a blind spot that you could just AFK at. So you're just stuck waiting around for you to get to your destination. By the way, while I've been ranting about how slow this is, I've been letting a clip of me taking one of these platforms play, and we're just gonna sit here until it's over, because guess what? I'm not even halfway through. So, hey, while we're waiting here, why don't you like and subscribe and all that? I definitely have more videos planned. You know, like a who should you buy for each Skylander, you know, that kind of thing. I don't know, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? I mean, come on, you'd want to subscribe for that, right? We're like halfway to penis reveal. Okay, I'm not actually revealing penis, but that'd be funny though. Jesus Christ, it's still going! Finally! Now imagine doing this 3 more times! Another unique thing about this level is how it doesn't really have any alternate paths to find treasure other than the magic elemental gate. Instead, every treasure is behind these gates that you have to choose which one you want, unless you're playing multiplayer, in which case you can get both if you time it right. I actually really like this, and I'm kind of surprised that there isn't more multiplayer integration into this game. This level is one of the most unique levels in the game, which plays to its strengths and weaknesses. But if I'm being honest, the worst part of this level is the final boss. I get that it's not technically part of the level since you get the 3-star screen right before you fight Chaos, but I'm counting it as part of it since you can't exactly skip it once you enter it. It's easily the hardest boss in the game, which isn't exactly a high bar. Why are we just fighting Chaos in his stupid little chair? Or, as he likes to call it, his all-powerful mechanical suit. By the way, when I was first playing this game and he said that, I thought there would be like a phase 2, but no, he just full heals, or the fight just continues on PS3 because I don't think the devs could program the full heal in. He's not kidding about the all-powerful part. If power is HP sponge, because god damn this dude has a lot of health. This fight really does just kind of drag on. It takes about 10 minutes to beat, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're doing the same thing over and over and over, it really feels like it takes much longer. Also, why are we not fighting the Hydra? This creature was foreshadowed in the Chapter 1 cutscene, and we're not even fighting it! It's just casting the same spells that Chaos was casting in the elemental fights in the background, only now sometimes he'll mix up 2 of them in a row. Whoa! God, I wanted to like this level, but I just can't. The final boss is just a massive disappointment, unfortunately, and that's the biggest sin of all. Darkwater Cove is so boring, bruh! Look, this level isn't terrible, but it really does feel like yet another filler level. Hey, at least we're getting something for the Core of Light this time. There's a few other things that I think put this level above Treetop Terrace, and I think that's mostly down to its aesthetic. I really like the way this level looks. The nighttime skirmish with the pirates really does make you feel like you're actually ambushing these guys and trying to steal the treasure that they worked so hard to plunder. Also, speaking of treasure, there's a little gimmick that all the water source levels do, where they hide treasure across water sources, which I think is pretty cool. And I really wish future games would have brought this feature back. But I see why they wouldn't either, since basically every other starter pack doesn't give you a water Skylanders to start with. Enough about the treasure. Let's talk about the enemies you're going to be killing. I have no idea what a Nautiloid is, but I do like that the Nautiloids, the Blastoneers, and the Squid-faced Brutes are just natural evolution of the Chompies, Drow Witches, and Goliath Drow from the previous arc. Though my least favorite enemy evolution is the Troll Grenadier evolution, the Squidler. Wait, Squidler? Like, Squid Diddler? What did they mean by this? Also, Water Spellpunk is in this level. Yep, this is the only time he shows up. This theme of the Spellpunks only showing up in one level is actually not that uncommon, since I'm pretty sure Life Spellpunks only show up in Treetop Terrace. So I guess it's not that big of a deal that they only show up in this level. Yet again, this is another level with a problematic elemental gate. It's specifically the Water Elemental Gate. It's slow to deal with, but that's about it. Before you even get to it though, there's this bounce pad that you have to get a treasure chest for, and I swear to god that I've had this not work, which can be kind of annoying since you have to repeat the entire level just to get to this one treasure chest. But my biggest problem is Gurglefin. I'm gonna come out and say it, he's the most annoying companion for like each of these elemental source levels, because he just whines all the time. Hey wait, that's not what I'm doing, is it?
From the crypt.
If there's one thing I really like about this game, is that all of the undead levels give off this amazing vibe. Even though Cadav Crypt is the worst out of all of them, I still really like it. It makes you really feel like you're exploring the crypt of the victims of Hassan Piker. One of my favorite parts about this level is the enemies that you face. The undead spellpunks are probably my favorite enemies to fight out of all the spellpunks because they change the way you have to play the game, especially when they're paired with the bone and arrows. Normally you would attack the archers first because their range is pretty good and they have pretty good accuracy, but now you have to focus on the rhubabies before they become rhubarbs, or kill the spellpunks to get rid of the rhubarbs. The rhubarbs aren't too difficult, but they hit like a truck and can get in the way often because of how big they are. I also really like the way that this level is structured, as it's basically a big cross where you cross over the same area multiple times in order to backtrack. Unfortunately, this level's shortcomings cannot be made up for it by its enemy and level design, and once again it's down to the fucking elemental gates. There's nothing really wrong with them on their own, but look at this Earth Gate. You have minute 20 to collect 10 skulls in this maze, so if you don't have a fast Skylander you might fail the challenge. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually the Tech Elemental Gate. Not like you'd be able to tell the difference. They really just darkened the screen and changed the camera angle and thought that I wouldn't notice. Unfortunately for the devs, I have max level autism and nothing slips past me. I also noticed that the Tech Gate really doesn't have anything to do with a tech element, but I thought about it a little more as I was writing this, and basically none of the elemental gates have anything to do with their elements in this game. So I don't know if it says more about me that I didn't notice this until chapter 16, or if it says more about the devs that they just managed to hide it pretty well. I don't even know if I like this more compared to what future games do, because in future games each elemental gate is very noticeably like themed around their element, but this sometimes leads to the gates feeling like they could just be removed from the level or moved elsewhere and the level wouldn't change at all. Like a tech elemental gate in Spyro's Adventure will feel like a part of the level that they paywalled off, but in future games a tech elemental gate will be like inside a robot's asshole or something. Like seriously, why is this here? And why is it in Chaos's castle? This does not belong here. Most of this level is also just pushing cannons into place for some reason. Like, who put all these cannons into this mass grave? Also, remember how I said the enemies are really well designed in this level? Well, the one exception to this is the rotting Robbie enemies.
Frankenstein.
And that is simply because it is a Skylander check. If you don't have a fire Skylander, then you have to use Spyro. If you don't have him, then what? You can use a cannon, or a bomb, or push a candle into them. I will give the devs this, there is no case in this game where you are forced to kill one, but trying to get around them can be a real problem. I will say though, it is a big dick move by the devs to say, oh, you don't have a fire Skylander? Get fucked, broke ass.
I like trains.
Of course, like all autistic people, I like trains, but not this much. For whatever reason, this level in particular has a very noticeable 3-act structure. Every level in the game is sort of divided into sectors. Sometimes it's more than 3, so it isn't that surprising, but other levels are usually more subtle about this. Like the first segment is the pull the lever with the enemies around, because I guess the enemies don't know anything about mole engineering, whatever that means. Then there's this obnoxious push block puzzle section. And finally just killing enemies until you get to the boss fight. And I will say that one of these segments is noticeably less fun than the others. There's a lot of treasures in this level that are just missable. If you pull this lever too early, you'll miss the legendary treasure. If you push one of these blocks into the lava, then you miss this chest. If the fire spell punk falls into the lava, then you can't continue the level. Oh, that one might be a little more serious. Man, I wish I could walk on lava. Whoa! This fire elemental gate is insane, by the way. It's huge, and you can just walk around under the level. Listen, Joe, the government doesn't want you to know this, but you can just walk on lava. Also, on the PS3 version, you can just walk into the rocks. You don't even have to do the parkour. I do find it really funny that this is the second elemental source in a row that Chaos shows up for. I assume this is because the magic source is kind of supposed to be, like, lost to time or something, even though it was scattered, like, last week. I'm kind of glad that this isn't the final chapter before fighting Chaos for the final time, because that would be kind of lame. This fight kind of sucks. Although all the Chaos encounters aren't great in general, they're all basically the same, with Chaos having like a sniper, a mid-range fighter, and a close-range bruiser, and starts summoning spells to harass you. And I will say that the fire spells are the easiest to deal with out of all of them. The real issue is the Skylanders he summons are actually kind of difficult to deal with, mostly because they're all ranged in some way, making the fight actually somewhat difficult. I think my favorite and least favorite part about the Chaos fight is the fire puns.
The eternal fire source is mine, I tell you. Mine! Even in the mine! You extinguished my pyro archer! Now that really burns me up!
I'd say that they're fire, but that would be boring. I don't want to bombard you with these glowing fire puns.
Oh, brother, this...
It might set alight a desire to comment coal on this video. Hopefully it rekindles a desire to hit that like and subscribe button. Oh fuck. Seems I've run out of fire puns. Okay, thesaurus.com. Let's see what else you got for synonyms for fire. Oh, what?
Fall.
Oh, God, I wish these chainsaw tanks were real. I would cut down every tree in the Red Forest specifically because it would piss off Californians, and they deserve it, alright? No, wait. I take these rockets because I can do this!
Man.
Fuck. Okay, so I do like the rockets, but I just wish that they were actually consistent and hit more enemies. I mean, your normal attacks will probably kill enemies faster and more efficiently, but who cares? Shooting the rockets is fun! Also, I didn't even know until I played the PS3 version that you don't even need the rockets to kill the chainsaw tanks. That's kind of funny. Honestly, there's not even a lot to talk about in this level, other than the rockets and the chaos fight. This level is just Oil Spill Island, but in the life element arc, and done much better, even as the same enemies. I mean, I really can't think of anything else to talk about here. It just does the concept of Oil Spill Island better and raises the stakes of the game, while not feeling like random tonal whiplash. So let's talk about that chaos fight. It's the easiest in the game, both in terms of the Skylanders you face and the spells. The spells come in two forms, with or without red snails. The only time I'd consider the red snails difficult is if you were using a melee Skylander, and the spells in the second and third wave can be circumvented by merely walking in circles. The life minions are also the easiest in this game. Zook fires slow-moving projectiles that split into other slow-moving projectiles. His greatest strength is a mushroom wall, which can be kind of annoying to deal with. Stealth Elf is easily the weakest out of all of Chaos's minions, since she only has one attack that can be easily dealt with like this.
Slide to the left. Slide to the right.
And she also has the lowest HP out of all of his minions. Stump Smash is actually kind of difficult, since it'd be kind of hard to tell which nut he's going to spit because of the particle effect, and he can also have a lot of these out on the field at once, which can be kind of dangerous. Also, I do find it really funny that the Stump Smash enemy only shoots nuts and doesn't use the massive fucking hammer hands he has. Really interesting design decision. Despite my whinging, I actually like a few things about this level. The aesthetic for one is awesome. The fact that this level takes place at night really contrasts with the last level with how bright it was. I also really like Chaos's dialogue again. He's always funny, but I think this is probably his funniest appearance. The music is also really good in this level, though saying that Skylanders Spyro's adventure music is good is like saying the sky is blue. There's even a few well-hidden secrets in this level. But most importantly for me, there's this soft lock that I discovered while replaying. Not kidding.
What is your favorite color? Blue.
Why is this level so blue? If it were green, I would die. I actually really do like the look of this level. It looks pretty cool, but is this not all Quicksilver? Like, why do I specifically need to get the bottle of Scrumpy? I feel like this massive fucking Chug Jug ocean would suffice. I will say that this level is perfectly middle of the road since it does a couple things right and it also does a couple things wrong. The first of the things that it does wrong is the enemies. For some reason, half of them just have shields, so a lot of time is just spent baiting out attacks or waiting for the Ultrons to fire their rockets, which is boring and not fun. And once again, a life elemental gate brings down the entire level. Have you noticed a pattern yet? Though this time I'd actually say that the PS3 version feels better to play. Still, it's not great, it's just a lot of waiting around, but I do think that the platforms move a little faster, so that's something. But god damn it, I can't hate this level. It is so cool looking, and some of the enemies are actually fun to fight. I have no idea what is happening down here, or why there's giant anvils supported by chains, but it goes hard as hell. Seriously, if it wasn't for the Archaean Ultrons, this level would actually be in the top 10. Crystaley Castle is such a baller name for a castle that is clearly not made out of crystal eyes. This level is also middle of the road like Quicksilver Vault, but instead of having multiple really good things balanced out by multiple really bad things, this level just doesn't do much of anything. My favorite part of the level is the number of enemy encounters. The level is sort of built around multiple battle arenas where you have to fight off waves of enemies, and that's kind of what Skylanders does best. You gotta take out all the enemies to collapse the two towers, and I think the big reason that this formula works is because the enemies are actually really fun to fight in this level, except the Cyclops spinners. Fuck these guys. I also have no idea why this is the only level where Cruncher appears. Like, Chompies show up in a later chapter in Stone Town. I have no clue why they didn't just make them Crunchers in that level. It's so weird. I also really like the music in this level. It's probably one of my favorite tracks from the game. And I will say for once, the elemental gates don't bring down the level. Though I don't know why you'd put them right next to each other in the level. That seems like bad design, but what do I know? Honestly, I wish that I had more to say about this level. It's a perfectly serviceable level with its only problem being that there just isn't anything special about it. What's funny is that these last two levels were so boring that I had to re-record basically all the audio because I sounded like I was falling asleep during it. That doesn't mean they're entirely boring to play, it just means they're boring to talk about, you know what I mean?
But you know what ranked least in satisfaction? 9/11 Airlines.
I know I dog on the turret sections in Skylanders, but they really aren't too bad. At least if you have a tech Skylander on the Wii, and when you build the entire level around them. Ah, damn. Maybe they do suck. Alright, well, I'm willing to forgive Skyscooter Docs on this, because this is like the second time we're using the turrets, and this level is actually built around using them, so it's actually kind of fun! I actually really appreciate that the devs put in an escalation of difficulty between the turret sections. The first one is just a lot of basic ships, then the next one is a few basic ships with a boss ship, and the final encounter is 2 boss ships, with the second one being able to turn around on a dime. Though I will say that part of the difficulty with the final turret section is that you're probably using an air Skylander and not a tech one. I think if most turret sections were like this, I feel like I wouldn't have a problem with it. The only other time I can really think that the devs did this was in Chapter 10 in Giants. And, well, I'll talk about that level some other day. This is also where we get more familiar with Dro, and I think the Dro are pretty cool, even if they're just elves, if we're being honest. I also really like the look of this level. I don't care that it's basically just a large hallway, it actually feels like a dockyard for airships. Of course, the music in this level is great, it's probably in my top 5 tracks in this game. Although I mostly associate it with that one Skylanders mobile game. One of my only real problems with this level is that the elemental gates just aren't that good. The undead one is fine, but the earth one can be kind of glitchy at times, and it's a minor inconvenience to have to restart the puzzle. And I think the devs even knew this because they hit a treasure chest where you're supposed to fall. I don't know why they'd put it there unless they were expecting you to fall. Its only other major issue is that since it's an early game level, it's pretty easy and the puzzles are easy to solve. Also, Flynn is really funny in this level. You guys are very lucky I decided not to do a Patrick Warburton impression throughout this entire entry.
Hey, Peter, check it out. My new electric wheelchair.
This is where my Discord got doxed on 4chan. Glue King!
I'm at the Goon Factory. I'm currently gooning. Wait, I'm being told that is not what it says. The sheer difference in quality between the tech levels is kind of insane. I can't believe that this level is literally just Battlefield but better, and it also did it first. I actually think the Mega Bomb rolling in this level specifically is not that bad. I think it's mostly because you're rolling the bomb downhill, so the level does most of the work for you. And also you don't have to do it 4 separate times. This level also has the only Fire Skylander exclusive shortcut that I can think of in the game. There's a number of water shortcuts to be sure, but this is the only time that I can think that lava is an obstacle. And you know what's funny? Is that it's completely pointless. The shortcut takes you right to the bombable wall, but unless you had the foresight to grab one earlier, you're just gonna have to trek down the hill to grab one anyway, making the shortcut pointless. I really do wish there was more of this in the game, but I'd be worried that the devs would make it as pointless as this, so it'd be like a monkey's paw kind of wish. Alright, now that I'm done complaining, what's actually good about this level? Well, for one, Goo-ning. Nah, but for real though, I really love the music in this level. I don't even really know what it's trying to convey. It doesn't really sound like a Battlefield symphony, but it sounds good, so I like it. After you roll the Mega Bomb down the hill, I actually really like the second half of the level. It's just a lot of enemy encounters, but due to the way that the level is structured, you can actually choose to ignore them and just raise the flags, which is great, because it means that I can ignore the troll tank enemies, who I hate. I really like that there's more than one way to handle the final section, since it kind of plays into the 3-star objectives level, so you can either choose to speedrun the level, or you can take down the enemies for some extra loot. Also, thank God we're only dealing with Snuckles for the first half of the level. Then we get to meet with Rizzo again, who has W-Riz, as the kids might say. Ugh, I'm too old to be saying this shit. My biological clock is definitely ticking.
Darkness.
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 Darkness. Darkness.
Bro, it is crazy the difference between the adventure packs in this game. Maybe it's just my bias towards Halloween levels in video games, but I really like Darklight Crypt. By the way, I don't even play horror games, I just kind of like Halloween. This level has 2 gimmicks to it. The first and the best is the night and day switching, where you face different enemies depending on the time of day. It's also interesting that the night enemies can be taken out during the day because they're destroyable objects, while at night the tree enemies act as walls that can't be destroyed. Also, some treasure can only appear during the day, while lock puzzles can only be accessed at night. The only time I don't really like this is in the village, where you have to backtrack 3 times just to get one chest. Kind of annoying, but I am willing to forgive it this time. The second gimmick is that the lock puzzles have an evil imp that slowly follows your movement. I like and hate this because on one hand it changes up the strategy you have to employ with the puzzle, but on the other it can be kind of tedious to wait for the imp to move. But I actually do like this change because it makes me think while I'm doing the lock puzzles. Alright, let's talk about what you had to buy. So on release, Darklight Crypt was a Toys R Us exclusive until Wave 2. Which isn't too bad, but it is kind of annoying. Ghost Twister is good, but you had Chop Chop available right there, so maybe not that good. Time Twister is basically worthless, but Healing Elixir is actually kind of interesting. The healing is slow, so it's basically worthless in combat, but if you're out of combat and if you're willing to wait and your Skylander's low on health, then it's not so bad. But in future games, on Nightmare Mode specifically, your Skylander is either alive or dead, so there's almost no use for it. Overall though, Healing Elixir is still probably the second best magic item in the game behind Hidden Chest, which is kind of saying a lot compared to its competition. The biggest disappointment in this level, however, is the Oculus fight. It's literally just a 3-hit fight where you have to change to night, lower the evil pylon, and shoot him in the eye. What's funny is that he has a desperation move that doesn't let you continue the fight because he stays invulnerable, and it's literally just easier to get hit by him and then just move on to the next phase. Because there is no way you're ever dying in this fight. Even if you take 3 hits from Oculus, you're still not dying. Honestly though, it's still the best final boss out of all these adventure packs, although its competition is a wall, Seto Kaiba, and nothing. So, real high bar here.
You must construct additional pylons.
Lower the lightning pylons, young Portal Master. This level is actually a really cool concept where you're basically on the castle battlements to rebuild the castle, which is sick as fuck if you're asking me. I have no idea why the lightning pylons are up and not controlling the air elemental source, but hey, it's still fun as hell. I also think this level really combines the Dro in a perfect manner, where it basically teaches the player how to approach combat situations and what enemies to target. This is also the only level where windbag genies show up, and I have a funny memory where me and my friend were talking about them and how Warnado has the same model, only it's black for his secondary attack. And when I said that, both of us burst out laughing for some reason. I think it's because I said, yeah, but they're black when I was talking about it, which I guess me and my friend found funny in middle school. Wait. Oh my god, middle school? Holy shit, I am so old, dude. It's not even funny. Ignoring that tangent, the song in this level is so good. It's so good that they reused it for every air elemental gate in future games. So, it's gotta be one of the best in the game, right? Honestly, the biggest issue in this level is the lack of puzzles. The one for Warnado's Soul Gem is just hit a button and backtrack through the level in 30 seconds. The air elemental gate is also just parkour with the bounce pads, which is fine, but I just wish there was more. And the life elemental gate has the easiest push block puzzle ever, which, I mean, they're all easy, so that's not too big of a deal, but still, I wish there was a lot more. Man, this level just needed like one more thing, and it would have been great.
Oh shit! A spy!
Man, I'm just gonna come out and say it. T-Bone is a fucking fentanyl problem, man. And that's why he's the best NPC, baby. Let's go! This Skellington is way funnier than those stupid Undertale Skellingtons. Sans Undertale who? Nah, we stand T-Bone around here. Oh, and the level's fun too. Man, if you're an arachnophobe, this is either your favorite or your least favorite level with how many spiders are around. On one hand, you actually get to kill a bunch of them, but on the other hand, the spiders. Man, you know if this game came out today, people on Twitter would be complaining that there isn't an arachnophobe setting. I actually really like the spider enemies. The spiderlings and spider pods are just natural evolutions of the chompies and chompy pods. Gargantulas are nice mini-boss enemies, and spider spitters and moon widows are great at area denial. I also think that this level has the most creative use out of bombs in the whole game, especially in the undead elemental gate. I'm also kind of surprised that this is the only level in the game where darkness is a key part of the level. The only other time is in Darklight Crypt's fire elemental gate and Cadav Crypt's earth elemental gate. I feel like these undead levels could have had more dark sections, but at the same time I understand why they didn't implement it more, since only fire attacks can illuminate the dark area, which is probably why darkness only shows up in fire elemental zones or time zones. Still, I feel like there could have been a section in one of these levels where you're exploring a dungeon of some kind, and it's dark, so you have to make your way around while you can't see. I feel like that could have been really good. Wait a minute, a game mechanic that only uses fire or candles? This criticism is sounding awful familiar.
Frankens.
God, the first level in this game is so good! I wanted this level to be my favorite so bad, but there's just too many problems that I can't rate it any higher than this. Most of the problems just stem from it being a tutorial level, so there really isn't much here. It would probably be the shortest level in the game if it wasn't for the unskippable cutscenes. And the only enemy here is Chompies, which sucks. They're decent tutorial enemies for a kid's game since they die in one hit, but they could have put in one more enemy, right? They also only show up during the second half of the level, so for the first half of the level you're getting used to the controls, and you sort of get the idea of what you're going to be doing throughout the game, like blowing up walls, unlocking gates, pushing turtles, and collecting treasures, that sort of deal. Also, I love the music in this level. I sound like a broken record at this point, but I'm just gonna keep saying it. This song is so good, and it's definitely in the top 5 for me. The elemental gates are also simple, but that's fine since they're just introducing you to the concept and what sort of hazards and puzzles and treasures will be in them. I might also be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that this is the only level in the game where an elemental gate has a soul gem in it. This level also hides treasure really well. The legendary treasure is so hard to find. Like, I swear it took me so many tries to find it that I'm pretty sure I gave in and looked it up. Actually, an insane spot to hide this. I also think it's really cool that Hugo says the names of the starter pack Skylanders when you summon them in for the first time. It's so cool. I kind of wish that they did it for all the Skylanders, but I guess we'd have to wait a game for that. This level also sets up Chaos perfectly as a threat and why we have to stop him. If he's able to create a tornado this big, imagine what else he's able to do. And finally, this level just looks cool. I think it's just because Skylands looks cool, and I know it's just floating islands, but I don't care. It looks cool. I personally love this level. It's where I started the entire series and it hooked me in perfectly. If this level just had a little bit more in it, I'd say it would be perfect.
It's a stone, Luigi. You didn't make it.
Man, they wanted to make the town seem like it's a peaceful place being ruined by a massive stone monster. But could you imagine actually living here? There's like 3 houses on this heavily slanted island with no fences. The Life Elemental Gate has more houses, but like, how do you get to half of these without breaking your legs? Also, I know we've been ignoring it for the entire review, but what happens if you fall off one of the Skylands? Do you just fall forever? Ugh, I think I need to save this village from more than the Eternal Earth Source. I think I need to save it from OSHA violations. Stone Town is a pretty good level. I haven't been mentioning it up to this point, but I really like the levels that have water in them. And I think that's mostly because the ones that actually have water where you can explore around in are some of my favorites. Like, I know that Oil Spill Island and Darkwater Cove also have hidden treasure in them, but those levels don't have shortcuts. See this giant lake? You can just cross it and avoid all the enemy encounters. And I really like it when there's more than one way to tackle a level. Most of the levels in this game feel way too linear, so it's nice when levels give the option. I know I'm praising the game for basically nothing here, but I'll take it over nothing. This level also just happens to have the most random set of enemies ever. Like there's Chompies, there's the Squiddlers, there's Cyclops Spinners, and shout out to this level being the only time where Rock Walkers and Earth Spellpunk show up. I make special mention to the Earth Spellpunk in particular for being the absolute worst at his job. He adds armor to enemies, but just like armor on Skylanders, it doesn't work 100% of the time, so you can just brute force your way through the buff. Like hell, even the Air Spellpunk's buff couldn't be broken. I also really like the way that this level is formatted, since you have to go through multiple Cyclops military installations to actually get to the town. I'd assume the mob who built this giant wall just to keep the Cyclops out, which I think is neat world building. But I've been saving the best part of this level for last, and it's the boss fight. I actually believe that the stone monster is the best boss in the whole game. It's a boss fight that has multiple phases with periods of invulnerability where you have to actually be skilled enough in order to damage him again. This boss fight isn't even like amazing in terms of boss standards, it's just so much better than every other fight in the game, it's kind of ridiculous. Once again, I'm praising this game for doing the bare minimum when it comes to games, but hey, when it does the bare minimum, it's actually pretty good. However, my only real problem with this level is once again my continued beef with the life elemental gates in this game. I seriously have no idea why it is always the life elemental gate. My first big problem is the bomb physics, specifically on the Wii. Hey, it's another instance where the Wii version is actually worse. The bomb will just straight up get thrown over the houses because the bombs don't home in on the houses. I think the game tries to have it home in the houses, but it's not doing a very good job. This is not a problem on the PS3 version because the bombs don't home in on anything. So for once, bad programming is actually a good thing. Speaking of bad programming, what is this bounce pad? It's programmed in a way where you're basically guaranteed to hit the skybox whenever you use it. If that happens, you might not have enough time to get the bomb to the wall and you'll have to try again. This is basically a slight inconvenience, but it's still annoying, so I'm gonna complain about it, goddammit. Seriously though, I really like this level, as it allows me to live out my fantasy of being a homeowners association rep blowing up people's houses because their grass is too tall.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
I have absolutely no idea why we need the Skellington key to access this place. Like, we're really just saying that I can't climb over this wall or swim in the moat. I guess I get why there's no jumping in this game now. Doesn't make the last chapter feel like any less of a filler level. Creepy Citadel is the final chapter in the Undead Element arc, and I really like it. Again, it's always the Halloween levels. I really like the enemy composition in this level. It combines the enemies from previous levels in a pretty unique way. The Moon Widows combine with the Bone and Arrow really well. They also combine pretty well with the new enemy in this level, the Shadow Knight. It's a cool concept for an enemy where you can't trust your surroundings or else you'll get ambushed, but there's a few problems with this. Like, for one, I'm too OCD and break everything in the level so I can get every piece of gold I can. And the other problem is that sometimes they're pretty obvious and their AI isn't great. They'll walk into traps, and on the PS3 version, they look like this. Yeah, you guys are really blending in here. I also really like the puzzles in this level. We're at the point in the game where the puzzles are actually somewhat difficult, and I say somewhat difficult because the devs seem to think that making a puzzle longer makes it harder, which, I mean, I guess they're right, they're really testing my patience more than anything, but I will say that the Air Elemental Gate in particular is really good, and the ballroom is actually kind of fun. Just getting the legendary treasure on PS3 can be kind of annoying, since I'm so used to on the Wii version it forcing you to complete the puzzle, but on the PS3 version you specifically can't complete the puzzle in order to get it. Something of note that's really interesting about this level is that to get into the main door you have to go through the lock puzzle, but off to the right there's a water elemental whirlpool that takes you right into the fountain. I actually really wish levels had more of this, and there's only one other time that a level does this, and the fact that I haven't mentioned it up to this point shows that I actually really like this, and I'm kind of upset that they didn't do this more. The most important part of this level by far is the Chaos fight. At this point in the game, Chaos is kind of just worn out his welcome. He talks a big game, but his minions are pretty easy to take down. Only this fight I actually feel is not only the hardest, it's also the most fun out of all of them. Ghost Roaster is kind of lame since he only has one attack, but Chop Chop and Hex actually feel like fleshed out fights because they have defensive and offensive capabilities and have more than one attack, which is surprisingly rare out of these guys. Unfortunately, I also think that this is the least funny Chaos encounter. He could have had at least one joke about a dead person. Hey, maybe whenever they remake this game, they'll make a joke about how the series is undead or something.
Goo Lagoon.
Yet another song that is so good that the devs just decide to use it in every future game because it is that iconic. Leviathan Lagoon is so good because it embodies basically everything I like about a level. Interesting enemy composition, secrets, and good puzzles. I think the weakest part about what I just mentioned is the puzzles. It's a lot of push turtle puzzles, but it uses them in a unique unique way by trapping the Habanero to make them easier to take down. The way this level handles treasure is also very interesting. I don't know what it is with these legendary treasures being almost impossible to find, but how would anyone figure out that you're supposed to get eaten by the Leviathan after you take down the pirate ship? This is also the only time where there's an elemental gate that is hidden by water, though I think that is here specifically to introduce to the player that the Leviathan will eat you if you go off the path, and you can really only do this in this level and with the water element. This water gate kind of sucks, by the way, since unless you're using Gilgrunt, killing the Habanero is actually really annoying. There's also a sort of risk-reward aspect to the level. You can either choose to skip most of this level by swimming to the other islands, or stay on the beaten path and collect treasure. I kinda wish there was more levels that did this, but I can see the problems with making this level. They kinda tried to make it so that you can't skip it with this totem up on this ledge, but you could just take the teleporter up and skip half the level. If they wanted to make another level like this, they'd have to avoid ways of soft locking and putting in invisible walls. It would probably be a nightmare scenario to code. This is also probably the only time in the game where you could reasonably do this, since it's the final chapter in the water source arc, but they could have expanded on this in future games instead of just dropping swimming altogether. I'm just glad they were able to do it for this level at least. Oh, and this is the first time that Chaos shows up to stop you from acquiring an eternal source. The Chaos fight is fine, the minions are somewhat difficult for this point in the game, and the spells are actually pretty fun to dodge. I mean, everyone really likes the shark spells, that's why they brought it back for Trap Team. It's really cool to try and get the perfect dodge and gain health back. If you're on your first playthrough, you're probably not expecting them to show up here, but on repeat playthroughs it's not as good. I know for a fact when I was first playing this game, I was surprised. Seeing the Leviathan jump out of the water and eat you surprised the shit out of me, because I was expecting the level to be over. It's actually kind of surprising that I like this level, since usually water levels have a bad rep in video games for not being fun, and this level also has a turret section, which I don't like. So against the odds, this level manages to be one of my favorites.
The onboard nav system now says we're in some place called Albuquerque.
Chapter 2 is number 2. This might come as a surprise to some people since this level doesn't really do anything special on the surface. However, this level has the same things that I like about the first level and more. It really keeps the ball rolling with how the game sets up the conflict perfectly. It tones down the urgency a little to go on a side quest to pick up Callie for backup, but you still get the idea that there shouldn't be enemies here. Like, I know this place is called Perilous Pastures, but I have a feeling it's named that not because of the Drow raiding the village, and more because of the lack of safety features. Like, seriously, where are the fences? No walls? What is going on here? Nobody should be living in Skylands under these conditions. These sheep are way too willing to jump off cliffs. Man, just like me for real. The Drow Spearmen are actually pretty good starter enemies and pair pretty well with the Chompy Pod, since you have to choose between the swarm of enemies that die in one hit versus the enemies that actually kinda hit hard. Kinda. Okay, it's not amazing. This should have been in the first chapter, but hey, better late than never. Also, the Drow have an interesting trick where they can just ambush you, which means you actually have to be kind of on guard, unless they don't make the jump, of course. This level also has yet another hard-to-find legendary treasure, where you have to go to this specific spot in the level with a life Skylander, and it acts as a bridge to this island. How anyone would figure this out on their own is beyond me. Like, maybe when you see the life elemental gate in Chapter 4, you might get the idea, but still. Or maybe 11-year-old me was just really dumb. 11-year-old me might have just been dumb. I don't even know if I like this or not, because on one hand, it's not only an alternate path, it's also a well-kept secret that you can figure out on your own, but this is also the only level that does this, other than Creepy Citadel kinda not really, so it feels like wasted potential. The game sets up the precedent that there will be more shortcuts in the game, but then just doesn't deliver. Other than this very minor issue, this level is just cozy. It reminds me of better times, and it's one of the many reasons why I like coming back to this game. I probably like it mostly because of nostalgia, but if I'm being honest, number 1 was locked in right from the start, and I think everyone knows why.
I am Optimus Prime. I'm coming. Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Literally, everyone likes this level. And yeah, it's awesome. Who isn't gonna like the level where you get in a giant robot and punch enemies to death? This combined with the background check makes it feel so epic. I don't even care that it's basically a turret section on legs. I'm in an ancient giant super fighting robot. How are you gonna hate this? They knew exactly what they were doing this level. This feels more like a final level than the actual final level. This level's gameplay, lore, and enemies were so good that they inspired the entirety of Skylanders Giants. The first half of this level is just a build up to the robot section, and it does a really good job at building it up. The opening cutscene shrouding the armory in darkness, then turning the lights on and revealing the massive amounts of robots is so cool. I have no idea what we're even walking on here. Kinda looks like a hotel lobby, but I don't care. It looks cool. The second half of this level is also great. It's not even a big room, but you have to do so much in order to unlock the magic source, which makes sense. It's a vault. There better be some security measures in place. I like that you have to backtrack up and down dealing with different enemies every time you do something to unlock the eternal magic source. It's a really interesting concept for a level. The legendary treasure is also really interesting to try and figure out how to get, and the elemental gate is also fun. The only real problem I have with this level is that there's no boss here. Like, the other giant robot you fight is kind of a boss, but it's it's more like a mini boss than anything. But if I'm being honest here, these two Archean automatons are harder to deal with than like half the bosses in this game, so it works out. This level is so good. In fact, so is this whole game. I love this game so much. In fact, ActiveBliz, if you want to do something right, remake this game already. What are you waiting for? This game is awesome. I in no way have any nostalgia towards it. It's the best game ever. Quote me on it. Don't actually quote me on that because I don't think so. But it's really good. If you enjoy the content, hit like and subscribe and all that stupid stuff. Tell me what levels you liked from this game. Make fun of me or whatever. That Risk of Rain DLC is coming out in like 3 days now. Probably gonna be playing that. Maybe make a video on that. Have a couple more ideas for Skylanders videos. Trap Team tier list probably October, whenever the 10th anniversary is. I don't remember. Okay, thanks. Have a great rest of your day.